Hi guys. So today we have with us two gentlemen who have been All India rankers, both of them at their respective final CA examinations, and both of them have been working in the investment banking industry since the time they have cleared their chartered accountancy. Keshav has been working as an analyst with Bank of America Merrill Lynch in their front end office, and Anupam has also been working in a global fund as an investment professional. So today's conversation is going to revolve in and around investment banking. What are the other career options after you pursue investment banking, and what is the career path ahead? So thanks a lot, Anupam and Keshav, first of all, for joining and hoping to have an insightful conversation today.
Thank you, Arshit.
Thanks,
Thank you
Arshit.
for having us over here.
Great. So
It will
let
be a
us
great conversing with you. Yes, ma'am.
great. So let us directly jump into the conversation. First question, केशव, if you can simplify IB for us, मतलब layman terms में कोई एक fresher सी है जो अभी अभी निकला है आर्टिकलशिप में सिर्फ टैक्स एंड ऑडिट किया है, उसको इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग के ऑ में है वो कि इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग बहुत सही इंडस्ट्री है, तो उसके लिए लेमैन टर्म्स में हम कैसे समझा सकते हैं व्हाट इज बेसिकली इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग?
Absolutely, Harshit, and why not? Probably what we can do in India is can be split into two parts. One is the front end roles with bulge bracket, mid-sized tier, and other investment banking firms, and the second is the back end roles which other bulge bracket firms over like JP Morgan, MS, and everyone back end roles that we have over here. So these are like two separate back end and front end roles. If someone has to split investment banking into two roles, this is the first two roles where I'll split these buckets into. Now, what happens in back-end roles if you are into uh, in a conversation where you help the front-end investment bankers in different regions across the world, right? You are helping someone in Asia Pacific region, or you are helping someone in the US region or EMEA region, which is European Middle East region. You are helping the front-end investment banking officers over there. That is the kind of a role for a back-end professional who is into an investment banking. What happens for a front-end investment banking professionals is you directly interact with the clients who are India facing, right? You go and interact with XYZ company CEO or company CFO, and you build relationships with them. You are on the front side of the investment bank clients, directly having a conversation with the clients, which is not the case with a back end investment banking role. So if someone has to split investment banking into the first bucket, there are like back end roles, there are like front end roles. Back end where you support other regions, front end where you directly interact with the clients and do deals for them. Now to put together what is investment banking, you can probably segregate the entire investment banking into two buckets, which is M&A and capital markets, which is first bucket would be mergers and acquisitions, and the second would be capital market transactions. As you all might be aware, there has been a flurry of IPOs, and the capital markets are as hot as it can be. Like every day, we are having over subscription numbers like no one has ever seen something in India, unprecedented numbers in India. So that we can probably segment and capital markets. Now, within M&A, we falls into two categories, which is a buy-side advisor, sell-side advisor, where investment banking is advising either on a buy-side transaction or an investment bank is advising on a sell-side transaction. Like if X company wants to sell their division, we as an investment bankers will help the company to sell their division at a good valuation. And if Y company wants to buy some division, we can help the Y company to buy the division, buy specific division. So that is like a sell side and a buy side. Where we play as a sell side advisor and a buy side advisor roles in investment banking and M&A. On capital markets front, it's into equity capital markets and debt capital markets where you are involved into all the IPOs, the rights issues, the offer for sale transactions, the block transactions, the dollar market raise, INR raises, euro market raises, euro bond raises, which are happening across the street as we speak. So these are like two separate M&A and capital markets bucket where one can split the investment banking thesis into. Anupam, if you have anything to add, happy to add to you.
Thanks, Keshav. So, Keshav said that we are distributed into different types of segment and further subdivided into different buckets. Into these particular buckets, it can be the sector agnostic role, or you can be working across different sector, working with primary different set of bankers who look into that particular set of transaction. So, like in terms of the myth which we generally have that an investment banking would be a person who will be coming out with different set of transaction now and then, though we have to be above the trend. But one thing which we realize that at a junior level, when you are at analyst or associate, the major thing goes down with writing of the notes and attending meeting and scheduling meetings, where you don't have a say but building on the picture. But with the help of this, it gives a wider picture when it comes to the industry knowledge and building up your skill for next 5 6 years. So the time when you come to form a new clientele relationship or flourishing the existing one, it helps you a lot.
राइट सो सिंपली पुट मतलब एक इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकर ऐसा है कोई कंपनी को पैसा रेज करना है इट विल हेल्प द कंपनी टू रेज मनी थ्रू वेरियस वेज वेरियस मींस सेकेंडली अगर कोई कंपनी है विच इज लुकिंग टू अक्वायर सम अदर कंपनी और इफ देयर इज अ कंपनी जिसको अपना एक डिवीजन बेचना है किसी को तो इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकर विल प्ले अ मीडिएटर इन हेल्पिंग देम फाइंडिंग द राइट सॉर्ट ऑफ कंपनी विच दे आर लुकिंग फॉर help them get the best price for that company if they want to buy and help them get the best price if they want to sell their a division or say for example a company or a subsidiary or whatever. Great. Great. So moving on, just an insight on when is it that you really decided कि हाँ मुझे investment banking में जाना है because I met you guys in MDP and whenever I used to have these conversations with you एक काफी clear picture आता था आपका clarity of thought. You were really clear कि नहीं मुझे करना है तो investment banking ही करना है जबकि आर्टिकलशिप या तभी कोई इतना एक्सपोजर होता नहीं है. So when is it that you really decide कि हाँ भाई investment banking is the way I want to go and why is it that you decided कि भाई नहीं investment banking करना है is I mean what is the lucrative factor in investment banking?
So sure, Harshit. So it's basically during the articleship time we majorly guys work around either taxation or audit and
Exactly.
insurance. But some of the other time you get a chance to work on a valuation bit in case of requirement of the firm or some of the other lucrative things which appeases you. So in my case, it was in 2017 one of my seniors just cleared his examination and he didn't make it to the BCG final, but he ended up doing a investment banking role. So when I got a chance to speak with him, and fortunately I was doing audit for one of the firms backed by Rakesh Niwala. So these were the times when I realized that operations is something which is much more important. And my dad has his own business. So when I started applying those skills, some set of strategy and operations, I realized that I always want to end up a role into the fund side where I can not only just invest in my finance knowledge, but also look into operations and strategy. So the only means that we can go through is either through consulting or banking. So being finance and taking up CFA and doing much into the stock markets. So it was always a flurry that yeah, investment banking is something which we want to end up so that we can achieve our ultimate goal. So luckily I, Keshav, and many of our friends used to stay in RVG. So you definitely got a chance to connect with each other in early 2018 when we became much aware about this side of the table, which is not the traditional part of the chartered accountants, but a non-traditional part. And when we looked into, there are very few people, and speaking to people helped us realize that this is a much wider field. And when we tried to understand about the global and how underpenetrated the Indian market is, it gives a much wider opportunity that this is the field that we intend to do into so that we understand the flurry, we understand the markets, and we are able to apply our knowledge just not for the sake of applying, but also for our excitement because this is the thing which excites us the most and not the traditional or auditing and assuring. So, and the other last thing which I usually feel that there if a particular transaction is being initiated, what matters is who is initiating, how it is being initiated, and how it is being valued. While the traditional CA looks majorly into the post integration or the post declaration of a transaction thing that this is something which is going to happen. Now you need to make sure that everything is in line. So the ideation is something which matters the most. So that was some particular points with few insights from the seniors. Speaking to many people in the industry gave us a clear idea that yeah, investment banking or consulting is some of the other means where we can move into in our life.
Keshav, what about you?
Almost like a similar story what Anupam said. Like on the latter part, I agree. Like in the terms of like market potential in investment banking and the under penetration sector, yes. But to be very honest, like after doing 3 years of audit, I was very clear that I don't want to continue with it. And audit and taxation for sure. Now I did my audit like internship experience in financial services space. Very specific into financial services auditing banks and NBFCs. So I was completely out of the picture for like all the other industries, like all this automotive industries or cement industry. Like I am not the genius one who can like take a strategy role or take a probably whatever the leadership programs like Aditya Birla or Marico or has. So I had my options sorted, right? I know I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Like if given an opportunity, if given me a choice, I can probably the willingness of coming to investment banking was much more than willingness of going over there. Because from the past background of my family, and from the days that we had in RVG, which Anupam talked about, and from the internship experience, I was clear I'll be more suitable for this kind of a role rather than going for a EBLP or something other kind of a role. As on that day, right? It just felt right for me, and that's how I was like, okay, I should go on for this. And as Anupam highlighted, there were like numerous positive factors that helped us over there, like talking to people and the potential over there.
So there are two important things which I can sort of derive from your answers. One, what Anupam said is कि आपको अगर आइडिया नहीं है वो इंडस्ट्री के बारे में, टॉक टू एज मेनी पीपल एज पॉसिबल इन दैट पर्टिकुलर फील्ड, हैव कनेक्ट्स जहां पे आपको पता चले कि ये इंडस्ट्री में एक्चुअली होता क्या है, एंड देन यू पुट योर सेल्फ इन देयर शूज एंड सी कि तुम्हें वो अच्छा लग रहा है कि नहीं. एंड सेकेंड इज, इफ देर आर से 10 ऑप्शंस, देन इट माइट नॉट ऑलवेज बी पॉसिबल कि मैं ये वाला करूं, वो चूज करना. उससे अच्छा मैं ये नॉन नहीं करता, वो एक कर लेता हूँ जो बचा है मेरे लिए. सो दैट इज हाउ यू कैन मे बी सॉर्ट ऑफ मेक योर चॉइस एंड डिसीजन. ठीक है, great. So just briefly before we dive deeper into what investment banking really is, a quick update on how did you manage to get into Bank of America for Keshav and JP for Anupam? What is the recruitment process like? How should you build your CV towards that, because you are a fresher? So what was the interview process and way of making it into an investment banking role?
Sure, Harshit. Probably I'll go first, and then Anupam, you can lay over your thoughts over here. What happened with me was, I'll say honestly, I was giving interviews in BofA corporate banking side. There was an opportunity which I was awaiting. Like, Bank of America runs a internship program for chartered accountants for a 6-month kind of a period, where you jump in, you do an internship in investment banking front office for 6 months, and then you hop out. And that's very clear. It's a contract period for 6 months. You're supposed to move out after 6 months. Luckily, I got an opportunity in that internship role. Obviously, I met few people who have already been into that role from being in KPMG. I had a colleague who was already working in that role, so that helped me to understand the role, the investment banking, and all the other things. But I was aware that this program is there, and luckily got an option to interview in BofA for that specific program. Interned for 6 months, got extended for another 6 months, interned for another 6 months, so completed internship of 1 year. But then post that, after like 1 year of like what kind of life, I'll not say probably over here, but after kind of 1 year, I finally got the PPO and made it to the analyst program of BofA Securities. Anupam, please add your thoughts on JPM.
So yeah, in terms of JPM, I started my interview process post when I returned from the NDP. And to say, even Keshav was about to join JP, but he fortunately ended up with Bank of America. So yeah, it's a clear process. So it was not a process which went through any of the headhunters or any of the references. So we just shooted a mail to the respected HR. She got into touch with us in considering our profile. So one of the major thing which I realized, that once we clear a chartered accountancy, we don't have to go with a traditional resume. Your resume needs to be altered to the industry which you are catering or the job profile you are looking. So when it came to investment banking, we made sure our profile speaks a lot in terms of qualitative and quantitative terms rather than just highlighting a rank. So that was something, a differentiating factor which helped us to get an interview at JP. So there are almost 3-4 rounds of interview, then a case study, which finally concluded, and we ended up getting an offer at JP Morgan at the same time.
Great. Anupam, one interesting thing which you said, alter your CV to the industry you are sort of catering. So quickly, if you can give us 2 to 3 insights, because there are a few CA aspirants who are awaiting their final CA results who might want to get into, say, an investment banking. तो वो क्या 2-3 चीजें हैं which you can put in your resume, because not many have experience. जैसे आपने बोला आर्टिकलशिप में 1-2 assignments में you had gotten an exposure to this sort of an industry, but सबको नहीं हो पाता है. So, I mean, what is it that you can develop in your profile which will help you or help the HR recognize कि हाँ you are a potential investment banker and help you get into it? तो वो क्या चीज है?
So when it comes to that particular point of resume, so I realize that we generally follow a general template which is available either online or considering what our seniors have been made. So what I realized that we should try to quantify the work we have done. So, for example, if I work for a listed company, the size of the listed company and what was your contribution, like in case if you have helped in a tax saving of X rupees, or if you have represented in your tax appeals to the level of high court. So these are some points which need to be highlighted. If you have taken training, so people think that training is not that important or something great we have done, but highlighting these gives a sense to the banking side that the person has good communication skill, he has leadership roles. In case if you have been a leader or achieved any sort of scholarships during your school period, have arranged fest where a footfall has been a great amount, great size. So these are some factors which need to be taken into consideration while you come up with your resume. So just highlighting a rank or scoring 90% plus in your 10 12 doesn't make that much difference, because there are many different people who might have missed their rank just by a mark but have might be having good set of marks in their previous academic records. So something that should speak out must be your type of work and how that has created an impact for the organization which you have worked till now. So we even might be since you have been into NM, so there's a rotacle of NM. So you must have worked, but it doesn't make we think that how is this going to make sense for this particular role? But when these people think that the person is not just into a particular aspect of just academics or professional, but also thinks much beyond the society. These are such set of people which are actually attracted, because these people manage their hard financials or the hard number game into their financial aspects, along with the new things which are the new innovations which they will be ready to open when these guys will be working with us.
Right. And just to let everybody know, Anupam hasn't had his articleship from any of the big fours. He has worked with a mid-sized firm, right? You have had your articleship experience in a mid-sized firm.
Yes.
So it does not matter. ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि मुझे big four का ही articleship होना चाहिए. Even if you are working in a mid-sized firm with a limited number of clients, however, it is important to quantify कि क्या आपने किया है main, and secondly कि आपका personal contribution क्या था, because there will be assignments where you will be working in a team. So what value did you add to that particular team in that assignment? That is important. Great, great.
And one more thing to add, Harshit, over here is so like if a person is clear that he wants to explore spaces, right? We have changed around industrial training, but people in this industry do appreciate if you step out of the CA background early, like audit and tax, general old standard are auditings and taxation schools, and get to an industrial training. People generally do appreciate over here, because you build a complete whole lot of different picture. And if someone has done industrial training, he would be a preferred candidate over someone who hasn't done, right? It's more like of an X factor which plays. So if someone wants to go and wants to explore corporate spaces out there, I don't know if the regs have changed in terms of like our corporate our CA course, but I believe like 12 months से 18 months कुछ industrial training
Yeah,
change होगा.
yeah,
But
Yes.
that period is very useful. If someone is very clear that he wants to do something in corporates, why not step early and do that, right? Why wait for like 3 years of old school auditing and taxation, and do all the auditing and taxation and then move out? Rather move out early and build your career ahead what other people are doing. If someone is like very very bluntly clear as to what needs to be done in the career.
Right, right. Relevant experience hona once you have your CA degree would be much more important than waiting for you to get your degree and then move into the field in which you are interested.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely, any day.
yeah, and I believe industrial training mein I don't think they'll I mean want to have somebody who is so experienced in that particular profile, because they know कि हम एक industrial trainee
yeah.
hire कर रहे हैं, तो उसे भले industrial
Absolutely, it's
मतलब
just the
investment banking
name
का
that
experience ना
matters.
हो. Exactly. भले investment banking ना किया
So,
हो, as a
and
fresher they can recruit you.
Yeah.
And there's always a myth in terms of industrial training. Like people think that your attempt might be postponed. Like that is not a case for each and every industrial trainee. So sometimes it might be postponed, but it's for the better good. Like postponement should not be a factor which should keep you away from doing an industrial training. At least in the current scenario where the world is changing at a faster pace and the
Right.
pool is shrinking in terms of this niche roles.
And I've also heard people advise students कि आप इंडस्ट्रियल ट्रेनिंग के वजह से अपना अटेम्प्ट डिले करोगे तो देर इज अ अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट विच इज इन्वॉल्व. आप अपना सैलरी
Yeah.
फोरगो कर रहे हो आफ्टर यू गेट योर जॉब. बट ये भी तो देखो कि इंडस्ट्रियल ट्रेनिंग वर्सेस आर्टिकलशिप में आप जो एडिशनल मनी अर्न कर रहे हो, सो दैट इज सॉर्ट ऑफ कंपेंसेटिंग व्हाट यू माइट अर्न आफ्टर गेटिंग योर क्वालिफिकेशन. सो या, व्हाट यू सेड मेक्स सेंस. ठीक है, मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. what is the day like in the life of an investment banker? मतलब मैंने सुना है कि 18 घंटे 20 घंटे एंड मे बी पता नहीं कितने कितने घंटे आप काम करते हो, सोते भी हो कि नहीं. सो what is the day like in the life of an investment banker? What are the roles which you perform और क्या क्या activities होती है?
Sure,
I think
Harshit.
Keshav should take the question.
Definitely, I'll take that one. Like two things first. First things first. Like if you have chosen something, you should not crib about it, right? This is definitely not something which is like you'll have a job 9 to 5 p.m. You'll definitely have a job which is 9 to 5 a.m. So you're working for like 16 hours, 15, 16 hours. If I get to work 12 hours, I'm very happy. But generally, more than 80 plus hours, which is somewhere around 90 hours a week across 7 days, is something which is very normal. But before anything, what I'll say is the work needs to get done. If someone wants to get up at 3 and do the work, it's fine. If someone wants to spend whole night and do the work, that's also fine. The person should be people in this industry, and Anupam might agree that people in this industry have to be self motivated rather than motivation for work coming from outside sources. The people need to be self motivated, and I guess it doesn't matter how much hours you clock or how much effort you put in. At the end of the day, the work needs to get done. At whatever time you do, it's upon you. The people generally look at you as a person who is there to get the job done. In terms of hours, as I said, like 90 hours, 80, 90, 100 hours is very normal across 7 days. And in terms of like what work we do at an analyst level, at a very like I'll say when you are at the lowest level in hierarchy, may it be analyst level or may it be the investment professional level in a fund, you are expected to work across decks, work across industry, understand the industry, build some thesis out of it. When you're pitching to client, build positioning pages, valuation materials, investors who can come in the deal. So all those kind of different aspects to which are attached to which are contextualized according to situation. But as you go up the ladder, you need to build relationships with the promoter, CEO, CFO of the company. But at the analyst level and associates level, it's more about PPTs, building models out, getting the transaction out of your way, building the investment thesis as to why one should invest, what are the positioning points. These are the basic things that you need to be hands on.
All right, Anupam.
Like nothing more to add, but yeah, majorly 70-80% of our times go working for the mandates, and rest 20% we work for something like BD or marketing stuff. But in this particular 20% of the work which we do, we generally have to make sure that we think something which is going to be an emerging trend or be above the line, so that when you present a particular set of idea to a particular set of investor, he should not be bored with the idea which we have presented. He must be thinking that we are investing into something which is going to be the future for India. So, like now, leasing is going to be the next future or the next decade for the India. So, these are some things which we also need to look on while working on or alongside executing a transaction. So, majorly our days look like that. But yeah, it's so we can't crib much because everybody is into the cribbing phase if we start cribbing. But yeah, it's once you start loving your job and once you have decided that you have to do IB because you don't want to go to the back of traditional, yeah, it just make a lot of sense. And when you keep gathering much set of knowledge, which is majorly as I already mentioned that in the first 6 years of your life when you work as analyst and associate, it's important that you have a hands-on on each and everything so that once you become a senior person within the hierarchy, you know whom to connect, how to connect, and what needs to be presented and how it needs to be presented. So each and every page we generally present, we try to first understand what message that page is going to give to us rather than thinking of we just have to complete the deck. So completion of the deck is not important, but what value it is going to add is something that makes us work harder and push beyond the boundaries so that the task is done within those set of hours.
All right, and एक insight जो मुझे चाहिए, I've heard a lot about analyst level पे जो लोग they are working as an analyst, they are working on PPTs, preparing pitch books and all of that. So I mean, purpose kya hota hai and what are the contents of pitch book? Like I guess it is the main thing which an analyst works on and dedicates most of his time to. So what is the basic purpose and what are the contents? मतलब क्या क्या चीजें हैं जो आप बैक ऑफ दैट पीपीटी काम करते हो टू मेक अ स्लाइड ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर पिच बुक? केशव
So
और
sure,
अनुपम.
yeah, sure. So basically, that PPT which we prepare different set of PPT depending upon the requirement of the client. But the major thing which generally analyst is in the initial days required to do is just prepare a IM thing or the marketing things in the initial phase, and then it keeps on accelerating with analysis, financial modeling coming into the picture, and how it is being quoted. So in terms of deck, we generally try to give an understanding about the industry, which about the industry, then about the particular sector, and then about the company for which we are pitching. So these three things when come together with thesis idea, risk, valuation, management team, financials, what is the scope in the industry with like the total addressable market, and what is the market which we are striking, is something that will appease the investor, whether it's a strategic investor or a private equity fund or a venture fund. So these are few parts which we try to generally classify agenda into with few annexure pages. So majorly what matters in the initial is the industry. So unless until you don't understand the industry, you will find it very difficult to place it. And then moving on to the different part, which are iterated almost 10, 12 times by the senior management, where your even models keeps on updating, which needs to be again updated on their decks. So majorly your hands off are in these particular pages. And the second thing which is important as you go throughout the journey, like after 4 5 months, is the positioning of the pages. See, like I mentioned, like if you place a particular page, where it needs to page and what message it needs to come down. So I can't just mix up an industry page with a company page. It would give a completely wrong meaning. Should have a particular set of flow when we put down the information, like coming from a top bottom approach where you start from the top and then come up to a bottom in which the we need to make appease the investor that you should invest in this particular company, where you have a good set of things about that company. And as we said, that selling or pitching is something which we guys are supposed to do. So yeah, you have to make sure that the points are such crisp and bulletproof that it does make sense while you are putting down in the deck. And one thing which I realized in banking is your pitch which we create should not be verbose. It should be much into the picture driven, so that it gives a better idea, because pictures do have a long lasting image over us. So if we have an idea about how the trend is moving on, it gives me a better sense. Yeah, it is something which we need to look into when diligence or term sheet can be signed.
काफी
Keshav, you can add
इंटरेस्टिंग.
further.
काफी इंटरेस्टिंग. Yeah,
No, no,
Keshav,
I
if you have anything
completely
to add.
agree. No, completely, fully agree with Anupam. No, nothing to add over here. He has explained it perfectly. Nothing more to add. This is it, right?
Great, great. So, I mean, keeping in mind the confidentiality norms, if you can just discuss one or two, I mean, so to say, jo class, ekdam cream assignments which you have been a part of, without, I mean, of course, keeping in mind the confidentiality and without naming the companies, if you can give examples of the work which you have done, any one or two assignments.
Anupam, you wanna go first?
Sure. Okay. So currently, like in the role which I'm looking into, we look. So currently, I'm looking for a life insurance space where we are helping into building up a thesis like of part for the bank for in which we are heavily invested for acquiring a stake into LI business. So LI is something which has come into a picture of a larger scale, especially due to the COVID, and also people being aware of this underpenetrated market, as they realize that along with mental insurance, health insurance, where mental wellness has come into the picture, life insurance has become a bigger part of the picture. So we are working on this particular mandate currently, and it is one of the most important thing which is going to change the at least 5 years of the next decade. And it is something interesting space because the metrics we generally have, ROA, ROE, or margins, doesn't play similarly in the insurance business. So this was the industry where I had to learn on myself for at least 1 month, and then come up with something understandable that yeah, we can invest into this fund when we speak with the senior folks. So this is one of the cream assignments which I'm currently working on. Okay, so you can add further.
No, nothing. Nothing like everything is confidential, to be very honest. But in terms of like thematics that people are generally working on, and including investment bankers today, are is more how consumer tech companies are coming out of India, right? How the startups are coming out of India to the listing and going on a listing spree, right? Can you imagine the India of 2000 where negative EBITDA or negative earning company getting listed and having a listing boom of around 80%, right? Now, one cannot imagine, right? It cannot be imagined like 5 years back. I'm not talking about even 2000. And what we are working on is like how thematics have changed broadly in that category as an altogether, and everyone around the street is working on the same thing. So that is something which is coming out of India, where India is being witnessed as the historical times in these capital markets, and at the same time, how things have changed and how things will change going forward for the next 5 years, like how US markets are seen and how things will change for Indian markets as well.
All right, all right. The next question revolves around something which is really the talk of the town, because the opportunities in investment banking are really less. Not all CAs or all professionals can make it into investment banking. So, how easy or difficult it is to get into investment banking? And if you do not make it into investment banking directly, what are the other routes maybe which you can follow, which will eventually lead you to investment banking?
Sure, Harshit. A very nice question. But first of all, one needs to understand whether they need to do investment banking, right? It's just not in
Absolutely.
the awe of that comes with that, like investment banking and all. But one has to have the conviction of working for so much hours and putting so much amount of pedigree into that profession, and then only step into this career, because as I said, like, there's no point cribbing post when you have joined. So one has to be very clear, crystal clear in his mind that he wants to be a banker or a fund, working with the fund ahead. So that is very first important thing that I will say. Now, in terms of like what are the options available, I'll say options available are, there are options available out there. It's just there are very less in numbers, and to be very honest, in India, what I've seen is like many of the bulge bracket investment banks hire directly from IMA, IMC campuses, IM Ahmedabad and IM Calcutta campuses. And next question comes is, how can a CA be recruited in investment banking? Uh, as I said, like there are like internship programs. You can go into a back office and then slowly and steadily move into front office kind of roles. Into front office roles, there are like mid-tier firms who generally hire investment bankers, who generally hire CAs over there as an investment bankers, and probably start up your career with that, and slowly and steadily up the ladder as you move, and probably build up in your career and go ahead. So directly moving into a bulge bracket is very difficult, because generally like 99% of the times, like Anupam, you might agree with that, 99% of the times, the hiring for freshers is from IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Calcutta. Generally, 99% of the times for the
Completely
freshers
true.
coming over. So for a CA to get in is very difficult. The path is get into a mid-tier firm, get into a mid-tier firm, or get into some other kind of a role, consulting, and then you can shift to banking, and slowly and steadily build your career from there. Or you go into a back office and then slowly and steadily come into front office kind of a role. And that's it from my side. Anupam, wanna add
Yeah,
something?
so the only trend which I realized that in the recent times, even people coming from equity research or due diligence, whether it's commercial or financial, and lastly the M&A transactions, people are also making it to the investment banking role. So, and currently looking at the market, how it is going, the opportunities are do coming. They need to make sure that they tap into the right people, connect with them, and make sure that they get a chance to shoot up an interview chance. And one thing which I realized that you don't get when you get a chance, you can't lose a chance in the banking field. So there are very less opportunities, and when it comes, you need to make sure that you are bang on. Like frankly, I and Keshav had appeared for our first interview in August 2019 when we cleared our C, and we both messed up. So we thought that this is the only opportunity, and we messed it up. And it was post a case study round. So yeah, when the opportunity comes, you have to make sure that you are on a toes. So before appearing or applying, as Keshav said, we need to be very crystal clear that we are going to work for these many years and then start preparing for the role, and make sure that your process of learning keeps changing according to the firm where you apply. So a particular firm might be focusing, it might be quite finance heavy or corporate concept heavy, but other would be understanding about the macro tailwind, so as to get an insight about how wide you can think, which is important for our field when we think about the trend line. So you need to always make sure that you are into that particular set of role, or even not into that particular, that eventually you get into that particular role which gives you a direct entry to the banking side.
Basically, sell yourself
Yeah.
out according to the situation. It's completely
Yes.
everything is about selling, to be honest.
Right, right. Absolutely. Okay, okay. And a follow-up question, which is also really important now, जैसे कि केशव ने बताया, लोग once they clear their CA, they are in awe of investment banking because it is the talk of the town. They hardly try to understand the reality, the ground reality about what goes into being an investment banker. So even if they are good and they manage to get into investment banking, फिर वो लोग regret करते हैं कि ये कहाँ आ गया, ये तो सोचा ही नहीं था. So you have to think long term and then make your decision. So now, for example, once you get into investment banking, what is the road ahead? What is the career path? Because I've seen people moving from IB to say maybe a private equity, or as Anupam has shifted industries. So what do you think is the road ahead of IB, and what are the options available if you want to exit, say maybe from an IB to some other field?
Sure, Harshit. So traditionally, what we see, whether it's India or globally, people after investment banking either move up with the private equity or venture capitalist role, or in terms of global terms, also move to an hedge fund role or a family office role. But recently, what a new trend is emerging, like people after their investment banking, they realize they are not interested, or if they are continue to interested, they don't want to stay over here working for different set of clients. They just want to focus on a particular clientele where they can focus on growing the company. So people have started moving to startup, taking up chief of staff roles, or a role which is into the strategy or consulting domain. Or in terms of the corporate development, they try to focus on corporate development strategy or corporate M&A roles, corp dev, we generally call. So they are focused, like once you try to understand the industry, we try to find out which is the best company, and we just try to focus on going in that particular company. So we keep on growing this company. So people take the decision now these days is not just from the mindset of a balanced life, but also from the growth prospect. So they realize that banking is not that they would be able to do it for a longer time. They look for exit opportunity from other non-traditional things now, which has become a competitive landscape space. So even during my process after my JPM exit, it was quite difficult to find out whether to go to a complete strategy operation role in order to further my idea of being an entrepreneur, or just to continue with the traditional role of PEPC. So yeah, Keshav can add further into any set of new roles or new ideations.
Absolutely. In terms of like, I'll say probably there are like two, three other roles as well post investment banking. If you are more closely connected to markets, you're more closely watching out markets and love to talk to investor, you can move into equity cap or a debt capital markets desk, which is a specific desk allocated to execute these transactions, talking to investors, right? आज अगर जोमेटो या किसी को आईपीओ लाना है 8,000 करोड़ का, तो इन्वेस्टर्स पैसा देंगे ना. One needs to talk to investors, understand their thesis, build their thesis. So equity capital markets desk is one thing. You can move out to sales team, who sales and trading team, and as well as the syndicate team. So these are two different teams which completely hands on, like very closely connected to markets. Like their job is to talk to investors and get the things roll, get the ball rolling. So these are like two, three other fields, like the capital markets desk, or move to syndicate, or move to sales and trading role, which are open to a banker.
All right, all right. Anupam, one question specifically to you. Before we started recording this call, you were saying that people are seeing a shift from typical traditional, the so-called hyped IB roles, to now moving into strategic sort of roles. So how do you compare those two roles, and what is the sort of deciding factor basis which you decide कि नहीं, this sort of role is something which appeals me more, कि strategy में जाना है, advice करना है, एक particular industry sector या company में जाना है, कि IB में you want to cater to different clients. So your views on that?
Yeah, sure. So, like I and Keshav are always into the favor of focusing on a particular industry rather than being sector agnostic. Like it becomes difficult to analyze n number of industries and then keep on giving knowledge to each and everyone about different sectors. So, when I also like I spoke to you before this call and even now, like something that is appeasing nowadays is not the generic IB role to the people, but the exit opportunity that lies ahead. So if I, as an investment banker, if you are coming, if you have a company, you would come with me. You'll come to me, ask me to help you raise out a fund. Then you come after a year, again you ask me to raise a funds. So there is a difference in the valuation gap. Like even for a period of 4 months, we have seen that valuations are rising highly. So you just use the same metric because you have the same model prepared. You just change the metrics and your valuation is coming up to the new and new investors are coming, or it's a follow-on investing. But within those 4 months, which has changed the company, is an important role for me to understand, because these are the time wherein new strategy or new idea has come, or the previous strategy which was incorrectly implemented. Though the decision might be right at that particular point, but execution might have wrong, might have changed the things complete. Like we have examples of Snapdeal or good e-com companies which had $1 billion valuation and then came down, and now we are turning it around for that company. So these are some things like in these particular things, what matters is you should be very clear about what you want to do and what is your long-term goal. So depending on that, you can decide whether to go with the traditional roles or move up to something new. Because what personally feel, once I've got into the IB, and if I want to change the role and realize that I have to come back to IB, I will be able to make a switch back to IB because I have some sort of relevant experience. Though not directly into a good bank directly, but just can be a lower down my step and then move back again to the higher position where I would like. But if I don't exercise that option, then it would be also a repent for whole my life, that, and I'll be cribbing to my family that I was unable to do this particular set of tasks. And I personally believe that initial 6, 7 years of your career is the time when you can make different switches, enjoy different parts of your role, and then come back again. Because over the time period, even you think in back of your mind that I need to settle down to one particular role, which is going to add value to me. Because as the hierarchy keeps on increasing, you need to be an expertise into that particular aspect, and you just can't dwindle around. Yeah, I'll be expert in this. I'll be expert in Y, Z, X, everything. So this is something which makes important is you need to be clear. And if you want to opt, you should try for some strategy consulting roles or investment side role or a startup role which appeases you, and then decide whether you want to continue with the previous role or the new role or move ahead in the different set of role.
So basically, where investment banking helps you analyze a particular sector and help the firm raise money or help merge two companies, two potential companies. The other side of strategic investing is where you actually be a part of the management of the company and you make decisions for the company which will help them grow and utilize the funding which the IB guys have helped them raise. So
Yes,
those are two sides of
actually.
the coin. You can choose what you want to do depending on your interest. Both the sides are as interesting as one perceives them to be. Great, great.
Keshav can add
Keshav,
anything on this.
No, no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
Keshav.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anupam has covered everything. Nothing to add over here. It's like just the
Uh,
two other sides of the coin, depending where you
yeah,
want to choose your career with.
yeah. I guess that's it from my side, guys. If there's anything you want to add, maybe to all the CA aspirants, the CA students who will be having their results or who are preparing for their CA finals, any tips maybe you want to give for helping them secure a rank or get the best results for themselves, and then how to appear for interviews. Any last thoughts on that?
Probably I'll go ahead, Anupam, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll probably say like enjoy your life. Like CA is just a part of life, and there'll be like numerous things which will be happening around. I don't recollect, in Anupam, you might like for the 3 years that we stayed in hostel, which generally like 90% of the CA population, CA doing interns, articles, they're like messed up too much in their studies or too much grossed up into इसकी class attend करनी है उसकी class attend करनी है the less number of classes you attend, the more the fear will be, and the more the fear will be, the more harder you will study at the end. That was my honestly my perseverance of how I think I shape things in life. uh, Probably put all your efforts into last 5 months or last 5.5 6 months. रोज रोज एग्जाम पैसे पोस्टपोन हो रहे हैं, तो 5 महीने 6 महीने जितने भी हैं उसमें अपना 100% दो, एंड एट द एंड ऑफ द एग्जाम यू शुडंट रिग्रेट कि मैंने कुछ छोड़ा है या मैंने कुछ नहीं पढ़ा है. Put your 100% in the last 5 months. Don't put your 100% in the first 2.5 months of your articleship. It doesn't matter. Like at the end, क्या करा है वही मैटर करता है. तो लास्ट के 5 महीने whatever, like the 5.5 6 months you have for study, put 100% efforts, and at the end of after coming from the exam center, you shouldn't regret कि मैंने ये छोड़ा और इसमें से आ गया. Like put all your 100% efforts into it. कुछ छोड़ा है तो आपकी गलती है क्योंकि आपने छोड़ा है. तो इससे अच्छा पढ़ लीजिए and 100% पढ़ लीजिए.
Anupam?
Yeah, completely true. Like in case of Maya and Keshav, we hardly studied during the first 2.5 years, and we actually became serious when we started our DT class in the month of October. And we were both clear that the next 5 months we won't be talking to each other, and it's just exam, exam, exam. And we actually spoke just twice or thrice during that break. But yes, what I realized one thing that during the break you should be connected with few people, not just to glorify how much you have studied, but what you should study. Like I had actually in law, I had done a blunder during my studies, and it was Keshav who guided me that you should read this because that particular teacher had not covered these many aspects. And actually, I am very thankful to Keshav that yeah, because of that, even I got an exemption in law. So these are like, as Keshav said, that you need to always enjoy the life. Make sure that you give your best, and during your those 5.5 months, if you want any strategy, there we people are there to reach out. Even Kushal is doing a fantastic job along with Arshit in terms of spreading about how the things need to be worked out. And for your interview thing, you guys can reach us out over LinkedIn, and we will be very helpful to you. And in case if you want any connects, we can also guide you with them. Like Harshit is into the corporate side, we both are into the FS side. We do have some connect which we can get connected with you over there. And please make sure that before appearing for the interview, you are 100% sure for the role. Like people are always sure for the role, but are not sure for the location. So be also precisely clear that I don't want to work here. Then don't please go and apply for the role because it goes out for difficult toss when it comes to a point where you are selected and the other person is being kicked out because of your decision. So it becomes quite difficult. So first be mentally prepared, then make sure your progress of studies and interview process is important, and then you start interviewing. And lastly, in terms of interview, you just can't change anything one night before the interview because it's the attitude or the character which comes right from the first day of your life, which is your upbringing and the type of people with whom you have been staying around and what type of value you have. The only thing which would make difference is some new value addition of the knowledge which might come just for that particular interview, tested or untested, and you might forget. So be true to yourself and make sure that you always come up with a confidence which is inbuilt and not just by looking onto the others.
Just a small story, I mean, to end the serious conversation on an informal or a lighter note. I met these two guys in MDP, and trust me, before coming to the MDP, I had a perception कि वहां पे सारे rankers हो रहे हैं. मैं तो रैंकर बन गया था, बट आई वॉज नॉट, आई मीन अ टिपिकल रैंकर. जो मेरा परसेप्शन था कि बहुत पढ़ाकू लोग होते हैं, बोरिंग होते हैं, मस्ती वस्ती कुछ नहीं. बट द डे आई एंटर्ड एमडीपी एंड आई मेड ऑल ऑफ दीज गाइज फ्रेंड्स, ट्रस्ट मी, जो मेरा परसेप्शन था वो पूरा चेंज हो गया है. Rankers are, I mean, the perception of them being boring is so totally wrong. You just meet these guys and many other guys which we had in our MDP batch. They are crazy fun people, and you might, I mean, after viewing 25-30 minutes of the serious conversation, you might think कि भाई ये लोग तो कुछ अलग लेवल के हैं and एकदम serious होंगे, काम करते होंगे. But you meet them and you realize कि these people are fun to just hang out with and be with. So make sure you develop that part of your personality. And as Keshav rightly mentioned, कि CA is not your entire life. CA is just a part of your life. So make sure you develop that personality. Do not forget to have fun. Because हमने जितनी मस्ती की MDP में, trust me, I did not expect कि उतनी मस्ती हम करेंगे and सारे rankers इतने fun लोग होंगे. So cheers for that, and thanks a lot for sparing your time, Keshav and Anupam. It was really great having you.
Thanks, Ajay,
Thanks,
for
Arshit.
calling us on your